Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
All right, very excited to talk to our friend Frank Caliendo, comedian extraordinaire. And of course, you've probably seen him on every sports network doing amazing impressions and impersonations. Frank, thanks so much for coming on the podcast with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I love being a hero and making things. Everything goes to the hero, even sandwiches for me. So,
you're a hero sandwich maker?
Yeah, why not? That's the only kind to make.
I totally agree. I'm very, I'm being a woman in sports. I'm constantly told to, like, get back in the kitchen, like, go make me a sandwich.
Okay, so I need to ask that for a second. People actually say that, like, that's on Twitter and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, I should clarify it's on Twitter, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But, like, no one's ever said to my...
I just saw, like, I was on with Ahmed doing an Instagram Live with you, and the things people say just because of where he's from and, the color of his skin and, his culture, it's amazing how people have no problem just saying terrible, terrible things. And I'm like, I'm all for, hey, think it. But to tell people that you're actually, that's actually what you're thinking, that's bold too. So it's not only gross, it's also bold.
Well, it's okay. So you're a comedian. So you are used to dealing with hecklers and.
I just get told on Twitter. I just get told I'm fat and I suck. So one of the things I did was I lost a bunch of weight. I gained some of it back, but when I lost most of it, people would still say you're fat and you suck. So I was like, I can't win. So I'm just going to keep eating my hero sandwiches.
Right. Well, Frank, at least you don't get told that you're pregnant.
Which We're is only a few years away from it, though. Right. Junior, look out! It'll happen. Corrigan.
That's the go-to. I suck and I'm pregnant. Which is like it's such a weird thing when people tell you that you're pregnant, because it's like they're never like, oh my God, you're glowing. Like, are you pregnant? It's like you physically look pregnant. So in their minds, they believe they're informing me of something I don't know about that's going on in my own body. And not just something I don't know, like I'm about to like bring a life into the world, and this random person on Twitter has noticed before I do.
Yeah, I don't know. People amaze me all the time. But remember, we are in the sports world too. And I don't try to be in the sports world. It's just something that's happened because I got lazy and didn't work outside of it that much. But so people know me from the sports world. But there's a weird thing that goes on in sports as well, which especially if you try to do comedy, that is, it's the same mentality as somebody going up to the plate and striking out. If you strike out a couple of times, you're a bum. You suck, right? In sports, and that would happen when I was at Fox too. We would use analogies like, it's a single, a double, triple, and I always felt when I was there, and I was there for 9 years. On the pregame, I always felt the next week I was going to be fired. And for the first 5 or 6, I was about to be. But it was one of those things where, hey, that's the sports world. If you lose a game, you're down. This is the beginning of a downward trend. And that doesn't always happen in just plain old, quote unquote, Hollywood. So
yeah, it's very cutthroat, very unforgiving business. Whereas comedy can be that way too, but you can have like a lull and then have a miraculous comeback. Not miraculous, but I should say like triumphant comeback.
And some of the best comedians, just in their acts, take a little bit of time. Chris Rock doesn't do joke. Chris Rock he talks about some stuff, you're engaged and he's interesting, and then he hits you with the same. Chappelle, Killing Him Softly was his first big special. That's the whole thing. I'm going to talk a little bit and pow. So it's that type of thing, as opposed to old school, the Catskills joke tellers were just machine gun, boom, 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 boom. That's people like storytelling and like to get to know you a little bit. But that, to get back to it, comedians can have those peaks and valleys, and you can have that in your career too. And think about to the time you get to be in entertainment, you could have a hit movie, direct a hit movie, not be heard from for 5 or 6 years, and then have another hit movie and nobody says you were gone. If that happened in a sport, if you had a great year in basketball and 5 years later you have another great year, you're comeback player of the year. You're not, you were missed for a bunch of years.
No, it is. It's such a, so I did kind of the Unforgivable So I read Ali Wong's book, Dear Girls. It's here somewhere behind me. That's right here. And I love her. She's brilliant. And in her book, she talks about how like disgraceful it is to be like how comedians feel about improv acts and like the improv world. And I've always loved comedy, and I think I'm a relatively funny person. People tell me I'm funny. I don't know. But I always wanted to explore it a little bit more because especially in my business, it kind of is a lot of improv. You know, if Colin asks me a question and I'm like, no, it ends the conversation. You know, I'm in the conversation business. So I felt like improv would help me in my job as well, just to like be a little more quick-witted, you know, always think of the next thing and just go with the flow a little bit. So I did 2 improv classes and graduated from 2 improv classes here in Los Angeles. And
I gotta stop you for a second, not because of the story, but I just picture sometimes when you will give a tidbit on a news story, Colin will just go, yeah. And that's it. He'll just...
Colin has a very... he's a very, like, I don't know, I guess because I know him, I kind of know his beats and like how his brain works. So, you know, the more you do television with someone, the more you get in the flow of like how they communicate. So I know he's listening, but I also know he's one of those people that like he pops in and out of the conversation.
He's planning
like
3 segments ahead too. I can see what he's doing. He's listening, he knows, but it's that churn. So I'm sorry to have cut you off during the improv. I just had to get it out. So you've been doing some improv classes?
No, I did them like when I first kind of moved to LA.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a very, I brought that up to say like it's a lot of pressure. It is similar to sports comedy in that sense. Like it's on you to like perform, and people come there to see you perform. And if you suck, like they're pissed at you, and that can be like the one impression that they have of you that carries on forever, you know? So when you first started in comedy, did you have a moment where you like completely busted on stage?
Just was terrible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, when I started out, I didn't have any jokes. I just had the voices. So I would go up and I didn't know it was going to be up and down. I had had the puppet. That's what an impression is. It's a magic trick. So you get to tell the magic trick. I couldn't really talk as myself. And now what I've done is started to weave the impressions into more conversation as opposed to just going, okay, so here's John Madden opening up a box of balloons. Why are they in a box? They should be in a bag. You know, it's not that. It's to get there. So the first time I ever went up, I didn't know what I was doing at all. It was at a dance club. I'm trying to think of the name of the dance club. It was probably one word, and I really don't remember what it was. But so I went up at the dance club. I was hosting a talent show, and I didn't have any stage presence at all. I went up and I was like, oh my God, I'm Robin Williams. And nobody laughed. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not. And it was just this moment of, I suck. I don't know why I'm up here and trying to fight through. But it was also the wrong setting too, right? So it's a dance club. They didn't tell anybody. Nitro, that was the name of the dance club. So
that sounds like the perfect name for a dance club.
And a guy with a faux mullet kind of thing and a mustache and glasses and mom jeans was the guy who ran it, probably named Randy or something like that.
Of course.
But a guy who just didn't look like he should have been running Nitro. So they weren't there to laugh either. That's another situation is you have to be in a setting to get people to laugh, or you're going to that's why you don't open for bands. Comedians rarely open for bands because people are there for music. So yeah, it has happened to me quite a few times, especially at the beginning, because when you go up at the beginning, you're going up in a non-controlled environment. And that I learned as soon as you can make enough money, you start saying no to those things.
How do you build an impression? I was watching Jamie Foxx do an interview with Joe Rogan yesterday on YouTube, and he's, talking through some of his impressions. And it's like everybody thinks they can do a good impression. It's like, and sometimes they're just awful.
I saw some of that. He did it with somebody else too, and it's interesting because that's on my podcast. We talk about it all the time, and then people send it to me. I'm like, I know all this stuff. This is what we do. Right. It's a weird thing. Like years ago on HBO Real Sports, I sat down with what's his name. He's Bernie Goldberg. Okay. And I started doing the Bernie Goldberg to him. I'm like, so the way this segues into what you're talking about, there are 2 ways to go about it. You can try and find the first bass voice right? You can find a voice to work from. So John Madden, so many people know that. Here, I'll do this. I'll go this way. A fun way to go is Terry Bradshaw is right here. Yeah, I told you, and then you talk about your grandpapa and make it happen. That's what I put the fun in funeral, that kind of thing right there. But if you give it a little more power, it becomes Chris Rock. I can't believe you just said that. And if you bring it back down, it goes back to George W. Bush. So it goes from George W. Bush to Tara Bradshaw to Chris Rock. So it's weird how those can. I used to do it with Ted Koppel, John Madden, and this name's even weird to say now, Bill Cosby, because there's so many that are just so similar.
Right.
And then Madden's even Bill Walton. You talk like this and you're John Madden, and then you bring it here and it becomes Bill Walton. How great is that? Unbelievable. So, and that's what people will hear in between those is my own voice. Right. So they'll be like, that one sounds like that. I did Jerry Jones. I've been thinking about a lot in the shower. I have been. And they're like, that's George W. Bush. Well, it would be if you added this to it. So it's a weird, there's so many little things, and there's different parts of your throat you can move things around with. Tony Romo is that, oh, Jim, this is incredible and amazing, and it's unbelievable. Then you look at a guy like Jim Nantz, who I can do a little bit of Jim Nantz, but when I yell as Jim Nantz, it's when he gets really excited, like when somebody's going to the sideline, or when he says the name Tony, it's like somebody's playing with the audio dials on an old school audio board. He'll be like, Tony, oh, Jim, this is amazing and incredible, and I can't. See, Romo's almost a Muppet. Oh, Jim, this is really, really great. He's almost Dr. Teeth. Do you remember that guy?
No.
Dr. Teeth in the Electric Mayhem Band was one of the band members. I don't know. I get into those weird. A lot of people are Frank Oz sounding, that this kind of thing in here. And you find there's certain types of voices that you can build off of. Jamie talked about that. Jamie Foxx, for those of you who know him even less than I do, which is almost none. But that Kermit the Frog, hi ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Right.
This kind of thing right here, which is Ernie as well, Bert, which is the same guy. But then you can turn it into Al Michaels. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. So and that's almost between Ernie and Fozzie Bear. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Waka waka. So weird. Because you just can change how you move things in your throat. You can compress it or let it go, and you can rumble. That's where the Romo comes from. And some people say that it sounds like Artie Lang to him. I'm like, well, then he sounds a lot like Tony Romo, because some people say it sounds exactly like Tony Romo. So it's really weird.
But is that when you bring in kind of their catchphrases and movements and stuff?
And cadence can change it.
Right.
How many different Christopher Walkens have you heard? You hear the low one, you hear the high one, you hear it in the middle. So you know who it is based on that cadence. And you can even cheat that. I mean, you don't have to be able to do the pitch or tone of the voice. All you have to do is get the cadence down, and then people will know who you're doing.
Yeah, that's why Trump is I think Trump is so easy to. I mean, a great Trump is obviously a very skilled thing to do, but Trump is so easy because you just hit the fingers and say everything.
You do this thing. It's very. So there's different types of Trump. There's the one who's very, very funny. I'm incredible. I'm doing a great, great job. But then there's the one who hits the words very, very well. Very well. The perfect usage of the words. And that's what I do. I do it. It's just what I do. But I tend to go for I try to go for the funnier one. I mean, I worked with Will Sasso at Mad TV, and he did Kenny Rogers. And it wasn't Kenny Rogers anymore. It was, I'm Kenny Rogers. It was way funnier. And when it's weird on the internet, they'll say, well, you don't sound exactly like him. I'm like, but the person sounds exactly like that. That's not always funny. It's interesting, but it's not necessarily funny.
Right.
And you hear Jamie Foxx talk about, he's got that line where he talks about Chappelle saying, he does a bit to get there, but Chappelle will either do the mumble thing or something and he'll say, chartreuse. And when he says that, he's got one of those big words he throws in there. And when Jamie Foxx says that, you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what Chappelle does. When you break down their thought, because and when you do an impression, you get inside their head. And you start to, I just did a thing that was going viral right now, I guess. Jeff Goldblum. Do you see that guy who's fighting on the street who looks like Jeff Goldblum.
It's amazing.
I just did.
Kicked his ass.
Yeah, so I did Jeff Goldblum talking Street Fighter 2.
Okay. Come at me, shirtless guy. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. Yes, you've tried, but I'm coming back at you. A little kick there.
I retweeted that this morning. I gotta watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I love the coaches one.
I'm a retweeting whore with blue check marks. Retweet it with a couple people taught me that. Like you put if somebody with a blue check mark. And people know, because there's a lot of people with blue check marks that have like 15 or 1,000 followers or something like that. Nothing against them, but they're usually like meteorologists or something like that are kind of local celebrities.
Right.
But if somebody sees you retweet it with some type of caption, and then I retweet it, all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, but look at this, cooperation between these two blue check mark entities. It's unbelievable. That's a fun, and I've become just a blue checkmark whore because of it. But
I got you. I love the coaches one you just did.
I didn't expect that to blow up. I had no idea. So, all right. So I'll do these voiceovers, and this is a bad one today. The one I did with Jeff Goldblum, because I knew I had to get in here. I did it pretty quickly, and I missed jokes that I wanted to do. Like I wanted when he did the Hadouken, that thing. I was gonna do social distance, like I had jokes that I didn't get in there because I was like, crap, I gotta go redo this.
Do a round two.
Yeah. Well, I just round two.
There's multiple angles of the fight.
Oh, are there really?
Yeah. If you go on
from a window.
Yeah, from the original tweet, like another neighbor got the.
Oh, that's brilliant! You just helped me. Very, very good. Yes, very, very good. Joy, maybe you could put that in your retweet with comment. Yes, hello. But that coach's video, I did in a couple of hours. I just threw stuff together. I had some Andy Reid stuff from being at the Super Bowl. I was on with you guys.
Right.
The hat is a Bruce Arians. It's an actual Bruce Arians hat.
No way.
So he's got his charity, which is the BA charity.
Right.
So this is an actual hat he gave to me because I did his charity. I don't know. Where are the glasses? They also work for Jeff Goldblum. They're around here somewhere. I found the Andy Reid glasses. I don't have the Jeff Goldblum glasses, and now I'm going out of frame, and I'm back. And then I had this in the background.
Oh, yeah, I noticed. No, was there actual crown in your glass?
Yeah, but I don't even drink. So the fumes off of it were just I can't even take NyQuil. That's how bad.
You know how I could tell that you hadn't drank any of it? Because I noticed things like this because the ice cubes were melting in the glass, and it was still significantly full. And a drinker would have taken a couple swigs of that.
That's the funny part. You notice the amount of liquid as opposed it would have been drank faster.
Well, I'm a drinker, so I know, you let it get watered down, it's gonna be, it's gonna have a different taste.
They wanted to send me a bunch, and I'll probably try. Why am I gonna say no? I gotta start. Maybe I'll send it to you, Joy. I just did a commercial again. But they. And people had told me about that because he was here, Bruce Arians. But it's so funny. So I had some of those things just sitting around. And then I got to, what's his name? Sean Mcveigh. And I just started working on the Sean Mcveigh. And I can only do little bits, and I'm too hyped up now because I'm talking 600 miles an hour. But people are like, why didn't you have stuff for Sean Mcveigh? I'm like, because I don't just have Rams gear sitting around. Right. And the Jerry Jones was actually an old Jerry Jones thing I did. It was something that Jane Slater was going to use on the NFL Network at one point, and they didn't want to use it, and the NFL Network didn't, and so I never tweeted out. But I'm like, I don't even have to do Jerry Jones here. I don't have to change clothes. I've just got me in a partial suit, leaning back. This is perfect. I'll just cut to that. And then the Adam Gase. I was going to do Jeff Goldblum, but the Adam Gase. And then it's so funny because I didn't want too many gimmicky ones, but the Gase one took off like crazy.
I'm like, perfect. I actually thought that the Andy Reid one was my favorite one.
What was that? Whatever.
Yeah,
it was just so because that's not even something Andy Reid would necessarily do, and that's kind of, I think is like what you're lending to, like being funny while doing the impression.
Yeah, I worked my whole life on trying to be not as fat, but then when I do Andy Reid, I just do this and I get this extra,
But his mustache and everything, like it was.
Oh yeah. The mustache. Here's the funny thing: the mustache was on the hat. How about that? Listen, I'm the Carrot Top of podcast guests. I could just make this happen. This is for the YouTube. This is going
I'm talking to Andy Reid.
This is Andy Reid with John Gruden's voice. I'll tell you what, man, that's tremendous. You just merged, man. I'm a creative coach.
You are a creative coach. It's like The Sims is glitching. That's amazing. Do you have a call-in?
Joey Molinaro does it now,
yes.
So I've kind of stayed away from it because he's got all those cadences down.
He's a backwards hat kind of guy. He wasn't wearing one today, but he's a backwards hat kind of guy.
He's nailed so many elements of the Colin. So I don't even do it because if somebody nails something like that and I haven't been known for doing it yet, right. I stay away because I feel like he's got the laugh and the Colin.
Is it like stealing jokes?
What was that?
Is it kind of like the stealing jokes territory?
Yeah, I think so. And like all the old school impressions do, but now people do it all the time. It's called TikTok. It's just stealing everybody else's stuff from there. But if you remember, I did a joke years ago. I came on. You probably don't remember because you don't remember me doing any Colin. But every time I do something, and this is I get real serious about this. He changes it, so I can't do it. And I tell him because he used to do that thing where he would affirm everything he said. So he'd say like, "So I was jogging down the street the other day. I did. He said,
yeah.
Oh, he used to do that all the time. I just was. He would do that all the time. He's like, my wife says I do that. She does. I'm like, you're doing it right now, telling me about it. And the other thing I did was, you notice he doesn't do it anymore. He goes, this is because I did that joke on the set probably a year ago.
No, I remember you were on because I think we asked if you had. I might have asked you if you had a call in.
Yes.
But no, he still does that from time to time at the beginning of the show.
Way lower. He used to do it really big every time. And I said, do you do that everywhere you go? Do you go you go to a bar and like, I'm Colin Cowherd and this is my wife. But then he stopped doing it. Like I have friends who go, we saw you doing it the other day with him and now it's gone. And he's told me back at the other place, but which is how he says it. But he was he told me, he goes, I got to stop doing that. So he thinks, you know how he is.
Yeah.
You tell him something, that's the only thing he'll think about. And you're like, no, that's what makes you fun.
He hasn't been doing it since we've been home. So like since he's been doing it from the radio studio, I don't know. I have to think now because I feel like he still does it. It's like a studio thing because it's so
not
big.
Even close. It's not. It stopped a while ago because I had friends that right after I did it, it started tailing down more. And if you watch, it's pretty quick, but I think he knew he didn't have to get rid of it because it's great. You just can't do that in normal conversation though, right? You can't
do it in normal conversation.
It's like in music when people are like, yeah. Nobody ever just goes, yeah, in between sentences. So I wish I hadn't done it. That's why I didn't even work on it because if I did and then he saw it, he would have me do it on the show.
Right.
And then and then Joey started doing all those, every little nuance he had, the laugh, the Colin email guy and the cadence and the microphone play. And I was like,
that's why when I saw it, I'm like, I don't know if Frank's going to do one now. Joey he does a great job.
Stay away. If somebody has it and is like, if somebody else did a John Madden, which is old school. But let's say John Gruden. Anytime somebody does John Gruden, they compare it to me. Even there's people that probably do it better. But I've done so many things. Yeah. And I'm like, people are like, I just came up with this new idea for John Gruden. I'm like, I did it 15 years ago. I don't know, maybe not, but like 8 years ago, I did the whole Gruden family and Granny Gruden. I'll tell you what,
how about some spider 2Y banana cream pie, kiddies?
Do you ever do women? I've never seen you do women.
No, not really. I mean, I don't have that register really. So I just do like a faux kind of effeminate type of voice. Some people will say it's like a gay male type of, I'm like, no, it's just, oh my God, that's so crazy. It's just that kind of thing, which is, I mean, there's probably some generalization in there, but it's how I can get it's almost like the Jim Gaffigan, what is that about? Where you talk to yourself in between and get the other side of the conversation. But no, I mean, Homer. I can do cartoon females sometimes, but I used to do a Rosie O'Donnell, and all he did was throw a wig on me. I mean, that was at Mad TV. I was Trump and Rosie at the time. Just to think about how crazy things have changed. Things are. If Rosie O'Donnell runs for president,
I forgot about that until you just said it. Now I forgot that ever even happened. We've been through so much. It's hard to keep it all registered. No, I didn't know if it was like a principle thing, because I really don't see a lot of comedians who do impressions do women. Like I've heard Jimmy Fox did Oprah like briefly in the like story that he was telling, but I don't see a lot of.
Have you ever seen Terry Fader, the ventriloquist impressionist? Mm-hmm. He can actually sing like women. It's unbelievable. He's got a register that I don't.
So it's something in your voice, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I only know a little bit about this, but a trained vocal coach could tell you. There's this kind of voice that comes from here. That's where Scottie Pippen is all there.
Yes.
I can't even do that. My son said the other day, it sounds like Scottie Pippen's always talking into a fan. And it was like, oh my God.
He has one tone.
Yeah. Oh, even Barry White's going, how'd you do that? You know, it's like so deep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Let's see. Then there's a middle voice, and then there's you can get up into it's placed in your throat,
right?
And it's kind of what you do with impressions. You find different ways to, like I was talking about before, make it all work.
Yeah. Okay. So I shouldn't be offended that there's not a lot of female impressions.
No, it's because I can't do it. I mean, to me, I wish listen, in this time and culture and where we're at in the world too, it's hard to do any kind of accent.
Yeah.
You do any type of dialect. People, especially being an old white guy like me, I got to set things up very carefully to talk about anything. And it's, I was talking about this, I think was it with Shaquille O'Neal, with Shaq. It was somebody, but I was saying I always make if I do somebody who like Charles Barkley, if you know Charles Barkley with me he's smarter than everybody, which
right.
Sometimes he really is, but it's like you have to be careful how. When I was at Fox on Mad TV, they used to have a thing where even if this is not even a racial component, this is just if you made fun of some group, you'd always have to have a thing called comeuppance. Do you ever hear of that?
No.
Where if you talk about something, if you say something about, let's say, old people, you got to make sure the old person gets you back. They have to have the last joke. Oh, right. And I found myself in the corporate world doing a little bit more of that, because if you go somewhere, you walk a line, but I try not to, at this point, I actually try not to even think about it, but people will come at me with all kinds. If I do Stephen A. Smith, people are like, I can't even believe you would attempt such a impressionification. You know, people are like, what? Just doing the voice. Or maybe I'm Stephen B. Smith, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard I won't say it's hard, but like, because overall, it's a good change that, you know, otherwise oppressed groups and people that haven't had a voice for, you know, thousands and thousands of years now get to voice their opinion and speak up for themselves. But yes, you would, I know it's a thing in the comedy world, especially, that it's like, well, how do you balance that, you know?
So yeah, you just got to be, you try not, and people come after you for no matter what.
Right.
I try to be good to people, and just whenever I set things up anyway, I'm pretty careful with it.
Yeah. Well, what are you working on right now? Obviously, we're all in quarantine. You're in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just, I've just been doing the video stuff, and it's been going really well. I was trying to, and I am still working on getting away from doing the impressions all the time, but it was like, you know, nobody's got anything to do, especially before things started opening up at all. So I was just like, I'll just throw a bunch of this stuff together, work on some new things. So it's just the at Frank Caliendo on all the social media stuff, the podcast, the Caliendo cast, which is, we have Shaq coming up. Shaq gets released today as well. That's a fun one. And, so yeah, just that stuff. And just, I'm trying to come back. Cause I kind of took a break for a while with my kids and watching them grow up a little bit. I was just doing corporate stuff, and people are like, are you dead? I'm like, just on the inside. But it's, you know, I'm working my way back. And just, it's funny, you get out of it for just a little bit, for a little too long. And, you know, we're talking about directors and stuff. That's a different thing. When we're all trying to I'm fairly well known, especially in, sports demographics, but you get out of it for a while and you weren't at the highest of, peaks, the highest level ever. People start to go, oh, you're done. I'm like, I just really wasn't trying that hard. And now I'm making an effort to do some stuff. And then my goal is actually to try and get some small parts in movies. I've only been in one movie, and that's what I'd really like to do. But the problem is when somebody casts me, they're like, okay, and now you're Morgan Freeman. Well, that's not going to work, is it?
That's not going to work.
What are you talking about?
Although Hollywood would try it, but I'm glad you're declining those roles. Well, best of luck to you. I'm sure that's all going to come to you, as it does with all greats, which you are. And I think you should keep doing I think it's a great idea to do the play-by-play impressions on internet videos, because that's where everybody is right now. And as soon as I'm done talking to you, I'm going to go watch that.
Yeah, watch that Jeff Goldblum. It's pretty good. You can see where it's one thing that's good about it is it feels very much like he's just watching it saying things. As opposed to when I do the Madden Summerall videos, there's a cadence to it, and they're more like the video game and almost like they're pre-planned, because they are set up punchline almost kind of thing. This just sounds like, yes, Dairo Chagi, I believe is how you pronounce that move in Taekwondo. I just started making stuff up, and there are pieces of me that go, I could have had such a better joke there, but another part of me goes, gosh, this is going pretty well, and I didn't even really try that hard.
I'm telling you, try the second round of jokes on the other angle of the fight.
I think you're right. That's a great idea. I'll put that up tomorrow. The second coming of Jeff Goldblum.
We've got nothing but time, so.
Right.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Frank. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys are staying safe, you and your family in Arizona, and looking forward to seeing you back in LA when everything is settled down.
You too. Thank you much.